was a memory of Ari Up, and it was the Slits from their album. Do you remember the album's name, Whitsitt? You're looking at me absolutely blank. I usually rely on you to remember them.
The Cut.
The Cut, yeah.
And that was Typical Girls by the Slits. And a remarkably abstract album in many ways, which probably explains why it didn't get nearly as much exposure and airtime as some others of the period.
And just before you launch forth on the abstract, my top cooking tip for this week or this fortnight is Jupiter Juice. It is available from Man Street Farm in Shillingford, St George. The farm is otherwise called Boyce's, and it is absolutely stunning. Of all the wonderful apple juices in Devon, I'm afraid it is our favourite. Okay, it's our local orchard, so we know the apples and stuff, but it is very, very beautiful. So, Whitsitt, are you awake now? Have I woken you up? Okay. What is the abstract for you?
Well, I thought what we're going to be looking at today is something, by abstract, we're going to be kind of exploring the idea, and we're not going to have a hard and fast definition that only encompasses...
No, I want a definition.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, what we're not defining it as, first of all, is the kind of the orthodoxy of what abstract art is, whether in painting or music or whatever. But I think we're using a broad brush approach, which takes the idea of abstraction as something that can be...
Yeah, but what is the idea of abstraction?
Well, as a metaphor or a sudden sketch of something more complicated, or another way of saying something, but one that's less obvious, or an interpretation.
Because, for me,
of something visual
abstract is quite clear. What it means is to take you beyond an immediate experience, to then make you reflect on the experience that you've just had. So, as opposed to painting a form, you paint the heat of the fire.
Well,
as opposed to painting a movement, you paint what it is to move.
Well, yes, very much
Or
so.
if you're a Monet, and as opposed to actually painting form, you paint the light itself.
Yeah, that's definitely...
Is that what you would understand by abstract?
Yes, absolutely. Or sort of, a metaphor that isn't blindingly obvious.
Okay, and would you also say, I don't know, for me, an abstract, it's got therefore many different... Part of the point of it is that it hasn't got a single interpretation.
Yeah.
Do you buy that one as well?
Yes.
Even something
I
like
would.
Monet's Water Lilies, which on one level isn't abstract, it's a painting of water lilies, but of course it isn't, because what you've got a painting on is the shifting colours.
Yes, and the layers of memory and kind of all the lack of definition that some memories and the dreamlike quality and things like that. Well, it's like a finding a painting where he's got all those kind of lines shooting up into the sky and stuff like that, and then all the figures are kind of reduced to triangles, but you can still see they're people outside the church, but it's all in the angles of light.
So to get a handle on it, are you talking about things like memory? You use memory there. Would you say memory was abstract? Or some memories were, or no memory is?
I'd say it certainly could be or can be, or from a philosophical point of view probably is.
Okay, because I was wondering when you said memory there, about those memories, you know the ones where you can't quite place them, you don't quite know where they happened, they could have been all kinds of different times, and you remember them very vividly. So they're not quite the memory of an event, they're a memory pitched across a mind?
Yes.
Would you buy that, and that was an abstract thing?
Well, yes, and also you pick out details, or for instance...
So the memory of a summer's afternoon, and there's more than one summer's afternoon in the memory?
Well, or the memory of you sort of go into a designed environment, say somewhere is kind of decorated for Christmas, but what you're picking out is particular details that stick in your mind, particular ornaments or particular moments of light.
Is colour abstract? In what sense would you say colour was abstract?
Oh,
I know this because she's a performance poet who specialises in colour. I bet you.
Geometric poetry, yes. Well, colour and form, yes. I mean, I think for somebody like the work of Kandinsky, for instance, his triangles are just incredible. The way he uses colour it's just amazing, because for instance, if he's got like a lot of black triangles, there's nothing necessarily gloomy about that, because there can be like a violent electric pink dot in the middle, but they don't always mean the same things. It's not like a colour chart where yellow is a sunny day, or blue is definitely for blue sky, or blue is for discipline and uniform, or anything like that.
What you're saying there is you like the idea that colour can renegotiate its how we actually think about it.
Yes, totally, by both its juxtaposition and by its use in form. So I mean, colour in a rectangle is different to a colour in a circle, or whatever the colour is.
So would you then say that cross-cultural studies was important there? Because obviously if you're in China, black was always the sign for weddings. and red was for funerals.
I thought it was white for funerals in the Orient, but I could be wrong.
I think it's red.
Oh.
But you might be right. My anthropology is a little bit rusty, but certainly I'm right about black and weddings.
But yes, I think that is important. That colours can't be tied down sort of hard and fast to particular emotions or events or things.
Because for me, coming from my own philosophical background, colour, abstract is often very formulaic. It's about finding a little formula. It's a little phrase that allows you to summarise lots of different things. Giving a quick example, the great philosopher Deleuze says there are 3 ways you have to understand time. The first is the common one. It's the if, then, so that's the train of causality. But there is always another sense where time is saying and. It's because you've never quite finished an event and you're always looking for something else. Your eye is always scanning as it runs round through time. And then finally, there's a third form of time, which is like the future. You're never quite sure what will happen from something, so it kind of runs either or, because each event changes exactly how it happens, changes its significance over time. Those are all formulas, and they're abstract, but once you actually kind of get the hang of them, you can apply them across the board. Would that fit?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that was a simply wonderful summary of Deleuze, I must say, and his idea there.
I have another one up my sleeve, but have you got any Kandinsky for us? Because you've bought in the Blue Rider, I saw, which was his set of essays he wrote with. Who did he write it with?
Well, he edited it with Franz Marc. So it's, I mean, all the pieces are by various sort of artists and indeed musicians. I mean, there's Schoenberg.
So the Blue Rider was written by 2 visual artists. Is that right?
Expressionists,
they're
yes.
Expressionist visual artists. I just want to put it in its context.
Yes, definitely.
And when was it written?
Sort of around the First World War, really.
Doesn't Mark die in the First World War?
He
Am I right about
does,
that?
yes.
Mark dies in the First World War.
No, he does, yeah. No, very, very sadly.
Have you got you had a passage you read to me this morning that we thought was wonderful, but if you're not, I can launch into a bit more Deleuze, having whetted the appetite of the audience for Deleuze.
Oh, I think some Deleuze would be in order, having
I have a horrible feeling your mic wasn't on, although I could hear it on the headphones. But I'm doing that live. Okay, a bit more Deleuze. This is from my stand-up philosophy show. It is called What is the Event? It isn't Deleuze's greatest essay, but it is the one that will cut you to the quick of what the abstract truly is. It is to the eternal credit of Spinoza that he was the very first amongst thinkers to realise a body is not the stuff of substance, of matter, but rather of quick motions, relations of motion and rest, speed and sudden slowness, and criss-crossing these motions that catch you up before you know it, there must lie intensities, gradients, powers, passions that hook up different places in space, setting them jingle-jangling, setting them in motion, forming the world, as it were, but a great Norwegian omelette, full of heat and cold. But what is it then that sets these motions aflow? What is it that sets up these gradients? There is a singularity, quite different from that of the subject or of the substance. The singularity, then, of a summer's afternoon. That queer, sultry summer, that white-hot summer, the summer love fell and fascism rose, or the wind that sweeps through Jane Eyre, or those strange events. The events of that September's afternoon ingrained in all our minds, from which a century's history was unpearled. This, then,